Bienvenidas, bienvenidos, bienvenides a este espacio llamado R+. Yo soy Roberto García y estamos enlazados a Colombia, en Carolina del Sur, para platicar con una música, modelo, actriz, artista que se encuentra ahora promocionando un sencillo llamado Chameleon, del cual estaremos platicando más adelante. Estoy hablando de Alena Marie, a quien permítanme darle la bienvenida a este espacio. Alena, welcome to R+. It's really nice to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
In this media, in this place, in this podcast, we've been following your music for a while. We previously featured Rabbit and Turn Me Out,
hmm
and now we are very happy to talk with you about your new single, Chameleon. Let me start this conversation about that. What was the first idea or feeling that started Chameleon for you?
Absolutely. So I had been dating this person, and from the outside in, everything seemed and almost felt so perfect. And it was only when I took a step back, I just got this feeling that maybe something isn't right about this, but I'm not sure what it is because I can't tell if the person that I'm dating is actually being genuine. And so it was just the culmination of feeling these very strong romantic feelings and then also not knowing if it's genuinely good for me.
It's quite a really interesting and complex process to knowing this kind of personalities,
Right.
not just because the everyday life with this person of any kind of this type of person, it's also a lot of noise around a relationship. When you write from the distance, well, do you recognize you in those memories even now that you know that the whole picture was completely different from the way you saw in that moment?
I think so. I don't think it was just 100% different, but I do think that in the moment I was definitely looking at things with rose-colored lenses. And so now that I've taken a step back and I have looked at it from a different perspective, I've definitely seen things where maybe I reacted in certain ways or I believed certain things. And now I can say that, well, I'm not so sure if that was genuine. And so it is like, as much as Chameleon is still a romantic song and there's a lot of romantic elements in it, it is still more of an unsettling feeling that I was trying to convey.
That's really interesting because one of the many interesting things about the song is the this kind of contrast between a lyric with some complexity and some kind of dark moment, even if, as you said, some romantic ideas, but the music also has this smooth, some romantic atmosphere. It's a really interesting contrast. How was yeah, the idea of this contrast, and also I always say try to create some I don't know if it's the correct word, but pop friendly
Mhm.
sound with a really complex reflections and ideas.
Yes. So is the question just how those two coexisted?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think that one, I love to make romantic music, and I feel like the song would not be true to how I genuinely felt if it was only dark, because there were also some good moments about it. And it was trying to communicate the fact that some of the most dangerous things are some of the most appealing things. And sometimes you truly cannot discern what is dangerous or what is actually good for you. You really need to sit in it and use your intuition. And I kind of just played on that because I started making the riff and it felt very romantic and playful, but in the back of my mind, I knew the whole time I was still going to shape those lyrics to communicate that, well, it's not entirely correct.
One thing that I really appreciate about the song is the sound in general.
Thank
I
you.
know that you recorded the song in a bedroom environment,
Mhm.
which is quite interesting in the world, at least in the music industry, where the perfection and the fidelity of the sound it's quite the commonplace now. When we listen songs with this kind of complexity on imperfection and maybe some mistakes that became part of the whole narrative. I really appreciate that. Can you describe this process and how you approach the recording, not only in the technical way, but in the more narrative way, the room, the sound?
Of course. Well, I have always, from the music that I've released up until now and the music that I'm continuing to release and prepare for release, has been all recorded by myself in either my bedroom, a dorm room, or maybe like a practice room here. It's never really been a professional studio. One reason has been like I am an independent artist. I am in college, and so there is a budget. But on top of that, when I'm creating these things and these guitar riffs, I'll usually start with a bass that I know that's going to be in the song, and then everything else built on top of that is pure just intuition. And so I feel like if I were in a more professional setting and there were people watching me, I don't know if that intuitive process would flow as naturally as it does when I'm just alone in my room. Um, Usually I'll just record the bass. For Chameleon, it was just that very repetitive riff, and then I'll listen to it, and just immediately I'll hear things on top of it that come to mind. And so I don't waste any time. I just record that as soon as I'm able to. And that is how all of those layers in the songs are formed.
This way of recording your music let you be free but also let you experiment and how you work with the freedom. Sometimes when we have freedom we can go in the many paths, many ways, and maybe never arrive in a particular place. How you work with the freedom and when you know that the song is finished?
Ooh, that's a great question. I am someone who loves to just add and add and add. So I think that's a good question for me to answer because sometimes it is hard. Sometimes I don't know exactly when to finish, but I think that usually I'll come to a place where, I've been working and using my intuition, for example, adding guitar riffs, and I'll keep on listening back, and usually I'll be tempted to keep adding more harmonies or maybe extra riffs. And I notice that I'm finished, or like I'll know that I'm done when I keep listening and the things that I'm continuing to add are no longer serving the original purpose. Because you can take it too far. And sometimes like less is more. Some of my favorite songs only have a couple of tracks on them. So as much as I love to use the layers, it is a place where I have to continually check in, and eventually I'll come to the feeling and I'll just kind of know like this is done, I can move on.
Um, can you describe your relationship with the guitar? I think in the songs we know, the guitar is kind of a main character, but it's quite interesting the way it's kind of a dialogue between voice and guitar and emotions. Can you describe a little bit your relationship with the guitar, the instrument?
Absolutely, yes. Well, to tell you a little bit about my music background, I was classically trained in piano, and so that's where I started in music. But it wasn't long till I quit piano, and I had been doing some voice lessons, but I quit those as well. For a couple of years, it felt very forced for me. I was only learning classical music, and at the time, I was so little, I didn't really appreciate that kind of music. But when I moved when I was 14 years old, I wanted to explore new passions because I didn't really have any friends yet. And my brother had a guitar. He didn't even play it. And so that's when I picked up guitar. I'm completely self-taught in guitar. I tried lessons once, but it was from a bluegrass musician, and our styles didn't really go together. So I feel like he was a great teacher, but he wasn't really helping me personally. So since then, I have just kept approaching guitar in a way that makes sense to me. So sometimes I'll slap the guitar in specific ways that I've never really seen anyone else do. But one thing that I've learned about guitar is that it's less about the specific technique and more about what works for you as a musician because it can be played in so many different ways. Like tonight, I forgot to pack a pick, but I know that I typically finger pick anyways. So that's just the way that I naturally do it. It's just a very natural, easy thing for me to do.
Great. Let's talk about the songwriting process.
Mhm.
When you write from a personal or intimate perspective, there is for you can be an act of vulnerability because even if you work with the technical songwriting process, it's always to show some personal and intimate idea or emotion. How
Mhm.
vulnerable, I don't know if it's the correct word, but try to be and what you try to hide from your songs in terms of personal ideas or emotions.
That's a very good question. I think that every single time I've written a song, it has been from a situation either I've experienced or maybe one of my loved ones have experienced that I've just needed to process. So it has all been vulnerable, but sometimes when I can tell that it's something very personal to me that like I don't want people to know the perhaps the true reason behind the song, I will usually use my lyrics and frame it in a more mysterious, conceptual way. And that keeps me comfortable while I'm still able to convey the things and also process the emotions that I'm having.
Great. In the Spanish introduction, I said that you are also a model, an
Mhm.
actress, and an artist. Um, how all this uh, creative process describes you? Because I think every aspect, even the modeling of the music, it's about connection, but it's also about communication. How all these artistic products or arts connect in your universal artistic identity.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've been saying a lot recently is I just identify myself as a creator because I don't want to limit myself to just one thing. I've been performing in the arts basically my entire life. It's just been a matter of which form, whether it be aerial, whether it be modeling, singing, acting, it's all been art. And it's also all been a form of self-expression. And I've noticed that my mental health is always best when I'm openly expressing myself, no matter how. So sometimes I've been maybe sick and I would notice that, oh, my mental health wouldn't be doing so good. Not just because I was physically exhausted, but because I couldn't sing anymore and I wouldn't have the tools that I normally do to express myself. So I think I just use all of these separate pursuits as outlets to express myself and also communicate to people on the other side of the screen that they are not alone.
With that in mind, when you develop a character or try to express from the image of the modeling thing, or when you're writing a song, uh, the process it begins in the same place, in the heart, in the mind, or in the guts.
Ooh, I want to actually, dare I say, it might be depending on the situation. I would normally say, of course, my heart, but if we're thinking about the song Chameleon, that's 100% gut because my heart was fully in it. My heart wanted to believe these things, but my gut was telling me that there's something that I can't see that I need to listen to.
Wow. Um, one, let me talk about this project that you have, the Marie En Noir, which is quite interesting because it's not only another part of your creative universe, also you are trying to connect with some other, with the art community or the artists who are trying to reach the audience or the people with with his art, the art. Can you
Mhm.
describe a little bit this project?
Of course. Well, it is very nuanced, so I'm very glad you asked this question. But to me, Marie En Noir is just a representation of me and also just bridging the gap between me being an artist and me wanting to support other artists. So, that thing that you talked about is called The Collective, and it's a program within my company where I'm able to support other artists, whether they be local or around the world, because I want my help to be more accessible and I want to help as many people as I can. I host workshops through my company. I sell prints and I make art through my company. I'm actually hosting a mixed media workshop next month, so I'll be gathering 30 people, just like I did the first time where we sold out. It was just an amazing experience. And I'm just going to teach everyone a new art medium and also just provide them with a community of people that actually want to learn something because I've noticed that in Colombia, like I would love to see more artistic events where we can learn about things and also just feel relaxed and get to know more people. So it's been definitely a passion project of mine. Though I focus on my artistry, my personal artistry more, I still definitely like to give that company love.
Do you think this idea of community or try to connect with some other artist is normal in your generation? Because I think we live in a really weird moment where the I, the individual way to live is the normal, and now the try to create communities the resistant. I don't know if how do you see from your everyday life, from your context, this idea of community?
I completely see that. I think that we are currently living in a very digital age where it is now easy to talk to people through the phone. And because of that, we are in this kind of loneliness epidemic where people are using that digital, device as a way of communicating and forgetting that it is important to talk to people in person. It's important to talk to the stranger on the elevator. Little things like that are important. And so that is why through my company, we do live events. I want to be accessible to people digitally and have that safe space as well. But I think it's also really important to have events where people can get dressed up, come and, maybe be a little bit out of their comfort zone, but still not regret it because there wasn't a single rude person at my first workshop. Everyone was just so open, welcome, and I was personally blown away by the creative things that they made and just the minds that they had. And I think it's just important for those people and just everyone in general to connect with other people.
Great. So the let me return to the Chameleon and the music
Hmm.
universe, because Chameleon released August 7th, if I'm not wrong,
Oh, yes, you remembered. I hadn't really remembered, so thank you for reminding me.
So, but my question is, what's the plan with the music? Where are you working in new singles or some maybe an album or EP?
Yes, so I've been working on an EP. I'd be happy to share the title. I'm going to title it Melrose, and it's going to be roughly, I believe, 4 to 5 songs. I've been working on it for a very long time, trust. And one of the songs from the EP is currently being mixed. So we are in those earlier stages, but I also feel like I needed these first couple of singles to just develop and discover the sound that I want to have before I make a larger project. Because the last thing I would want is to release a project that wasn't really a project, but was just a couple of songs that I happened to make consecutively. I want it to be very cohesive and intentional.
Great. Let me say this in Spanish. Pues sí, Alena Marie está trabajando en un nuevo EP, Melrose, del cual tendremos que estar al pendiente, por supuesto, de ese material. Además, invitarles a que estén al pendiente de los sencillos que estará sacando y, por supuesto, revisar su música en plataformas digitales. Ya lo saben, nosotros dejaremos las redes sociales de Alena Marie en la descripción de este podcast. So, Alena, really thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your music. It has been a pleasure to talk with you. Something you like to add to this conversation?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's always been a pleasure to be able to submit my music and listen and also just read the beautiful feedback and thoughts on my music because it lets me know that what I'm doing is coming on the other side, and I really appreciate that. So if I can have a message to anyone who's listening, I just encourage you to create without fear and listen to yourself, listen to what you want, and don't feel scared to go after the things that excite you. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. This podcast is always open for you, for the news, for the releases.
Oh,
And thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you too.